What is going on, everyone? Welcome back. Season 3, Episode 1 of the Main Stand podcast. Boys, it has been a hell of a summer, but we're back. Premier League this weekend. Footy is back. How are we feeling? What's the vibes? How's everybody's summer been? There's so much to catch up on.
It's been good, man. I'm in a great mood. It's like I think I like the start of the Premier League season more than I like Christmas. Personally, this is it's like a little holiday for me. I'm just so glad it's back, man. I miss the zoo. I miss footy. I miss the banter. It's gonna be another good year. City just get to defend everything.
It's true. We were going to the zoo a couple times this summer, and it was a little crowded and whatever with the Women's World Cup games and stuff. And me and Pat were talking. There's nothing like going to the zoo on a Premier League morning. There's like
Oh yeah,
five to 10 people in there, just devout Premier League guys from Portland, Maine. And that's what we're looking forward to. I mean, the zoo is going to be packed on opening weekend, of course. Everyone's going to watch their team for the first time. But it's just that feeling of, on the eve of the first match day, everyone's wondering how their team's going to be when the season actually kicks off, and we're finally at that moment here. So excited.
yeah. I am too, man. It's gonna be a good year. I've got a really good feeling about it.
And we're excited
Outside of
to be
that,
back
though,
on with the Main Stand podcast. I mean, we started this 3 years ago today, or yeah, two
two
years
two and a
ago,
half years ago,
two and a half
two and a half
years
years
ago.
ago. Yeah.
And there's been enough interest shown from all of you who listen that, we're coming back for year 3, which is pretty significant. I don't think many podcasts last as long as we have. We're excited to share more content with you guys. We have a lot of good ideas, so we want to kind of show love to the fans here at the start of the episode, too, for sticking with us for this long.
You guys rock.
Yeah.
So much love.
You guys want to tuck right in, get right
Yeah.
into the 23-24 season. So before we do, I guess the usual stuff, the general chat, the predictions, the stuff we get to come back to at the end of the year and be like, wow, that was a stupid fucking take. Um, let's how are we feeling about the 23-24 season kind of in general? Outside of just our teams, are we feeling like it's going to be a good season, another runaway season for a title winner? How's the transfer window looked in terms of good transfers, bad transfers? What's the general vibe in the Premier League right now going into week one, you guys?
Feels a little top heavy for me. I think there's 8 really solid teams who are going to be vying for those top 8 spots. Um, there's some really bad teams as well, and the middle's kind of up for grabs. I think you have less of the fringe teams. Like, I think Palace will take a step back, losing Wilfred Zaha. Brentford obviously are going to be missing Ivan Toney for a long time, which is going to really hurt them, I think. And they just lost David Raya to Arsenal too.
Yep.
So there's going to be teams that take a step back. It feels like there's 8 really, really defined teams in this Premier League. I think most everyone who watches agrees with that, and I think that's kind of what we're going to be arguing or discussing today. I don't know if there's a ton of surprises like there would be last year.
Yeah, for me, it feels like the surprises we're going to find are like the mid-table teams, like the newly relegated, not the newly relegated, or who gets relegated, I guess. I have a take. Uh, and then like the mid-table teams, like how good does a Burnley or a Sheffield United do? Does Luton stay up? I think that is where we'll find the excitement outside of the top eight.
Until we get to the last couple weeks of the season, obviously looking way far ahead. Like Josh said, having 8 to 10 teams really be in the title race from the jump at the start. There's a lot of big names, a lot of great signings that have moved in. A lot of dead weight has moved out. We have a big question mark with Chelsea. How are they gonna kind of turn around after a really subpar season and a lot of question marks there? We have a lot of pull from Saudi, a lot of players leaving to go to Saudi Arabia. So there's a lot of fresh faces, a lot of opportunity, and I think it's balanced out the top of the table for sure and made kind of the bottom a little bit more clear than what we saw last year leading
Yeah,
into to relegation day.
I'd agree with that. I would definitely agree with all that. Before we get into the preview, just a one word, a yes or no. Are we going to get a good season, you guys? Yes or no? It's going to be a good season. season, or is it going to be a boring one?
I think it'll be
It's going to
good.
be a good one.
Yeah.
Good season. Yeah, I'm starting. I'm feeling that way too.
You got to start the season off with good
let's
vibes. If you go in with bad
right.
expectations.
Exactly. That's fair. That's fair. I don't know. Sometimes there, like, there are seasons where you go in and you're like, this is gonna suck. Like, it's not gonna be super exciting. Like, the favorite seems pretty clear. But I think this year there's a lot of ups and downs, some topsy turvy stuff that could happen. But anyway, we can get right into it. So I think everybody's got a favorite thing to talk about for this part of the year is top six. Want to just let's just go in order, say our top sixes, and discuss as we go. I won't go first because I'm introing us in, so we'll go from right to left on my screen. So Josh, kick us off. What's your top six look like?
Yeah, in order, I have City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, United, and Chelsea. I know it's never been done before in England. I think Man City win their fourth title in a row. I just don't see a clear-cut favorite to stop them. I think it's such an undertaking to compete with Man City, especially in the latter half of the year. We saw Arsenal have such a big advantage last year and crumble. I do think Liverpool take a step up. I know most seasons I would bet Liverpool to win or whatever, but I do think Liverpool take a step up, especially with the positive news about Lavia today. That helps, obviously, our defensive midfield issues. Arsenal, while I really like the business they did this summer with Jurrien Timber and Declan Rice, I still am not sold on the mentality as well as kind of their play up top too. I think Gabriel Jesus, I think he's already injured, so the consistency there is a concern with Eddie Nketiah leading the line as it looks like Balogun is on his way out of the club.
It's going to be Havertz.
Yeah, that too, which
it's going to be Havertz
isn't good enough.
I've got to take. I just have to say it, Josh. I disagree with you. I really do. I think Havertz. I think Havertz is going to have a really good year.
I don't think Havertz is going to lead the line. I think it's going to be Eddie. From every Arsenal fan I've saw on Twitter, it's Eddie.
I think it'll be Havertz, man, and I think he's going to have a really good year. I maybe they flip flop, but I believe in Havertz, man. You don't have that much talent and just lose it. Sometimes a change of scenery is all you need. I think he's going to have a really good year for Arsenal, man. I really do.
Dele Alli would disagree with you, but we'll wait and see. And then the back half, just Newcastle, United, Chelsea is pretty straightforward. I think these are a little bit more flippant. Newcastle, it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to having Champions League football in the schedule for the first time in ever. And Chelsea, I think 6 is a fair spot for them considering how bad they were last year. I think they make an improvement, but not near the top 4.
What was your top 4 again?
City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle.
Newcastle in 4th place?
Is that a hot take being bad or good?
I don't. We'll get there. I don't see 4th. I don't see 4th, but
they improved that. I like Sandro Tonali in the midfield. He adds a lot of really good minutes in that team, as well as Harvey Barnes, who scored 13 goals for Leicester last year. Immediate impact on offense.
I agree. Tonali has the Serie A tax. We've seen a lot of Italian guys come to the Prem and be god-awful. Jorginho, prime example.
Do I have one in a while?
I don't think that I'm not sold on him. Right? I think he's good. He's in. I'm going to be paying attention to him, but I don't see Newcastle in 4th place. Man, they feel a lot like a really good version of Wolverhampton. In a way,
some Geordies are going to be after you.
Wolves, I don't care. Wolves were a really good team for a while, but they kind of outperformed a lot of their XG and how you'd expect their games to go. A lot of the league last year wasn't very good. I see top 6 for sure. I think Newcastle absolutely get into the top 6 and they stay in Europe. But 4th place, man, they're not better than Chelsea and they're not better than United. They're not better than those two teams. United strengthened tenfold, and I think under Ten Hag they're going to be a lot better next year. So I don't see Newcastle breaking into the top 4 personally.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we'll keep the preview short. I think again I said those 3 teams kind of be a little bit more interchangeable than the other ones, but we'll see how it plays out. I think Pochettino has a pretty big job ahead of him at Chelsea, and I think his hopefully is a little bit more transformational than managers at Chelsea have been in the past few years. So I think it's a longer project.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, Mitch, your top six.
So I'll start with I'll start from the bottom and go reverse. In six, I have Newcastle. I do like the signing of Tonali. I do think they are a top six side. I do think they take a step back because I think the other teams around them have gotten better, and it's just going to create a little bit more chaos. Fifth, I have Tottenham. Fourth, I
That's a
have
take.
that's a take. Uh, and the reason I guess I'll leave my omission of Chelsea, and I have Chelsea finishing seventh. I think the lack of dead weight in the club, they don't get into the top six. And I think Tottenham just have a little bit more stability. And Harry Kane is Harry Kane. I think they're going to score goals. I think they're going now they have Kulusevski permanently. Like there's a lot of stuff that have gotten set in stone for Tottenham. I think Heung-min Son needs to have a better year. There's a lot of things moving in Tottenham's direction, and they're going to get points off of City. So we know
It's
we
six
know that
guaranteed points.
exactly. In fourth, I have United. The De Gea era's kind of gone now with the addition of Onana. You have the addition of Hojlund and Mason Mount, who has been in a struggling Chelsea side looking to make a name for himself, leaving the boyhood club. I think there's a lot of question marks there, but I think United, they're United. They fucking linger around the 3-4 mark every year. And third, I have Arsenal. In second, I have City, and I have Liverpool winning the league this year,
Look
which
at
is
that.
crazy. Josh and I flip flop all the time, but I have a really good feeling about this Liverpool side. It feels like a big breath of fresh air. Last year felt um, like the era was over. It was almost like a depressive episode for a season where we lose Mane, we have a ton of injuries, we're coming off of the highs of the last couple of years. Now we've lost our captain. We've had a lot of changes. It's a big changing of the guard with Virgil as our captain and Trent as our vice captain. I just think there's a lot of things moving in Liverpool's direction to give them that hungry edge back that I think they were lacking a lot of last year.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I'm not sold on Liverpool's depth like overall. I think
Yeah.
you're paper thin in a couple areas. But I mean, I guess we'll get right into that. Unless you had anything else you want
No,
to talk about before my top six. So
just I just really like the midfield signings we've made so far. I think the way we're trending is a really exciting thing, and I think the players are hungry too. You can feel the difference in the locker room already, and no, I think Liverpool are dogs.
Plus, we had a shitty preseason, which is the key to a great season. We know from years
Yes.
past.
I wouldn't even
well,
say it was shitty. It was just like it was a little lackluster. I think there's a lot of kinks still getting ironed out, but
Yeah.
just a
Rolls
much
Royce in attack, Chevy Lumina at the back.
all
Ford
right,
Focus even.
that's close enough. Okay, I'll go top to bottom. City, City are winning the league. They're doing four in a row. We've seen the City team do things that teams haven't done in the past. Add another one to the cabinet. They're winning four in a row. The whole league played catch up to them, and I think when it comes down to the business end of the season, your February to May, your March to May, there's no better team than City there. They'll do what they have to do. They're winning the league. I don't think the departures are enough of an issue, and I think that the minute De Bruyne comes back to full fitness, it's wraps. And we lost the Community Shield, so we're winning the league for sure now. Second place, I have Arsenal. I still think City and Arsenal are the two best teams in the league. I think the addition of Timber Rice and Havertz really addressed some key areas that they had. Raya coming in to either replace Ramsdale, who's not the most consistent with his feet and just as good of a shot stopper, or to just give Ramsdale some competition, I think is huge. I think a back four of Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Ben White is one of the best back fours in England right now. Um, and yeah, I think Arsenal are really good. And third, I have United. I also caveat. I think the top three will be like maybe within 8 to 9 points of each other. I think
Yeah.
United are a really good side too. And I think the addition of Hoyland, who's really good in transition, he's just a really good finisher. in the areas you need a forward to be a good finisher in, as well as his ability to be a little bit more decent on the ball. He can drop deep, he can come out wide, he can support his wingers. I think he's a really good signing for them. If Casemiro can play 28 games for United and not get 6 red cards, they'll be in a much better spot. I'm not convinced by Mount at all. I think Mount's not great, but I do think a change of scenery and a new system could help him. And I think what he's good at, United need a midfielder to do that. And yeah, I just think United are good. And then no more De Gea, so no more free goals against him. And fourth, I have Liverpool. I'm not sold on your depth. I think you're an injury away in any key area of the pitch to being in the same predicament you were in last year. You're a Lavia injury away from like starting
Curtis Jones.
Shedic at DM. He got a Premier League winning DM if he has to play for more than 15 to 20 games in a row. Fifth, I have Chelsea. I think Poch is a good enough manager to get them into 5th place, but I don't think that they'll really challenge. But I do think they'll get top 6, and then at 6 I have Newcastle. Kind of for all the points Mitchell mentioned. Mitchell's feelings about Newcastle are my feelings about Newcastle, essentially. I'm not going to beat a dead horse with that one.
Yep. It's an interesting race. You're going to have Brighton and Villa pushing for those top 6 spots as well. I think those are the ones you could maybe, if there was like a surprise team in the top 6, it's going to be either Villa or Brighton.
Agreed.
They've both done. Brighton did some really good business this summer, getting Dahoud from Dortmund and Milner on a free, as well as João Pedro from Watford, I believe he was last at. So they're going to be fun to watch. Villa
and then
Moussa Diaby too. So
yeah, he's gonna be a good little player for them. I think they'll be solid.
Yeah. Want to get into the relegation talk?
Yeah, let's talk bottom 3. I'll start this time because I have a hot take.
Go for it.
I'll go 18 to 20. So in 18th, I have Sheffield. They lost their best player, their striker. They just sold to Marseille. He scored a bunch of goals in the championship. His name is escaping me. He was really good for them last season, though. I just don't think they've done enough business either. So they're going back down. 19th place. Here is my hot take. West Ham are getting relegated.
That's pretty spicy.
They have not made a signing at all to date. Not one player has come in, and the rumors I've seen don't particularly move me to make them non-relegation candidates. Last year, they were teetering on the relegation zone for quite some time. Add in the fact that they have Europe again next year, and they still haven't made a signing. Their squad does not look any better. And now clubs know they have money, so they're going to be paying a premium for anybody that they bring in to replace Rice or to strengthen the squad. They're probably going to make a late move for like a Harry Maguire or Scott McTominay or like a player of that caliber just to like fill the hole, to fill a need. And I don't think it's going to be good enough, and I think they're going to go down. And then in 20th place, I have Luton. Don't think they're that good. 25 points max for Luton. I'm sorry, guys.
I had Luton at 20, and then I don't have these in necessarily any order, but my other 2 are Everton and Wolves, 2 current Premier League teams. I don't think Everton have really done enough business either. I mean, they got Arnaut Danjuma, which was
on a loan.
Yeah, a player that rejected them last year, and Ashley Young on a free from Villa. Everton, I think, has lost more talent than they've gained in the past couple years, and there's just not many positive signs from that entire team. I think Damari Gray might be on his way out too, so I just don't know where the offense comes from here.
Full season of DCL. They're getting a full season of DCL, though.
Yeah, but I don't know where that service comes from for him, to be honest. I mean, he's not going to be playing next to Anthony Gordon even.
True.
Yet Richarlison, which is when he was really playing well. And then Wolves, again, another team that's hardly done any business. Lopetegui might actually leave the position because of the lack of transfer money he has. So I think Wolves are another team that's like really teetering. I mean, they've lost Raul Jimenez, Ruben Neves, João Moutinho. So like their most senior players.
Adama Traore.
Nathan Collins, I believe, might have left. So they're like
Connor Cody's gone.
Connor Cody. The list is very, very long. And they were another team, again, teetering last year, and I think they go over the line.
That's a good shout. I
Yeah.
can absolutely see Wolves going down next year.
Kind of leading right into mine. I have Luton in 20th as well, Sheffield in 19th, and Wolves was my 18th team. I just think they've done a lot of losing and not a lot of bringing in to revitalize. They've really blown up the club. Um, Absolutely poached Ruben Neves by Saudi Arabia, and then you lose the veteran presence of Joao Moutinho and obviously Baby Oil Traore. It's going to be tough for the Wolves
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to be good for them. Another shout, Bournemouth is another team that I could definitely see getting relegated this year.
They were so
just not
up
enough
and down.
business.
For sure. Let's get into the individual stuff now, guys.
Yeah.
We talked about teams for a little bit. We're gonna give some previews on flop of the season. Maybe some players that we think are gonna do well and surprise people. So let's start off with that, and I'll let Mitch start us off here.
So I'll start with my flop. I have two flop candidates, and I have a feeling Pat is gonna agree with me on one of them and hate me for the other one. Mason Mount and Kai Havertz. I don't know if Mikel Arteta has what it takes to keep Havertz on side if he's gonna be playing up front. This man loves playing from behind the last line, and it doesn't. I don't know if the link up's going to happen quick enough for Rice through the midfield and Odegaard to get him the ball up front to really make his time at Arsenal worthwhile. Um, and then Mason Mount, I think there's just a microscope on him, and I think English tax. You're leaving your boyhood club, where he quite frankly struggled, but still got the praise. I've never been high on the Mason Mount wagon. I just don't see I don't see him fitting into that midfield very well.
Yeah, I think we're all...
Mount's was my flop to watch too. I think he could prove us wrong. That being said, I really do think that he could prove us wrong. He had that spell at Chelsea where he was exceptional when he was put in a position to succeed. And if Ten Hag can get the best out of him, I do think he's not a bad player. I just don't think that his skill set's ever been really used properly since his dad moved away from Chelsea and Frank Lampard. So we'll see. I'm not convinced by him. I've kind of got my eye on him. He's on fraud watch for me. So yeah, Mount's my player too. And I disagree with you on Havertz. And
I know you do.
I think he's gonna do good.
We'll see. I have an interesting one. I'm going to be careful saying flop of the season because he's a young player, and I try to be a little bit mindful of that, calling them flops. But I think Højlund, for me, is someone to kind of keep an eye on because, one, he's extremely young. I feel like United fans have already put a tag on him as someone who's going to come in and make a big impact, which I don't know if it's going to happen. Or at least kind of turn around their woes. They had Ronaldo at striker 2 years ago and still had woes, so I don't know what you're expecting this 19-year-old kid to come in and do. Premier League's a lot different than the Serie A too. That's going to be a huge adjustment for a young striker, and this back injury he has, if you just type it in online, you'll see that there's a lot of people behind the doors at Man United that said it's a lot more serious than what they initially expected. So who knows how many games he's even going to get this season, and by the time he is kind of in the team or whatever, he's still going to have that adjustment period. So maybe not flop of the season, but I think one that's going to underwhelm at least United fans who have said...
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think 11, 12 goals for him would be a really good campaign, all things considered.
Yeah,
he had 7 goals last year,
Yeah, and using Pat's words, you got to pay the Italy tax. I don't know how prolific he's going to come into the Premier League and just hit the ground running. I had him under my ones to watch just because I think he has the ability to be a good player when healthy, and I think he had a great year last year in Serie A, but I just don't know how well that translates to the Premier League at such a young age.
Yeah, I would agree. And yeah, I had Mount, so I don't need to talk anymore about Mount, but we can talk about good. We'll talk good players, and then we'll get into the way too early awards to start the year. So so I've talked about a bunch of players that I'm interested in keeping my eye on this season. And I've made it a point to not pick City players because I could sit here and talk about how good I think City players are all day. So instead, I did the next logical thing and picked an ex-City player to tell everyone to keep an eye on. Ode to the Burnley shirt. I think watch James Trafford in goal for Burnley next year. He is already the third most expensive English goalkeeper of all time. Saved a penalty to win England the U21 Euros this summer. Unbelievably good with his feet. Touted as, the next best thing in the City Academy. He was unbelievable for us at the U21 level. He's been really good for Burnley last year on loan. I think James Trafford is great. I think he's going to have a really, really good season for Burnley, and I think he's going to be key to that possession-based, forward-thinking system that Kompany has Burnley playing out of the back. I think he is the archetypical modern-day goalkeeper, and I think he's going to have a really good season for Burnley next year. And I've also got Danjuma. I will be watching that space. I think if anybody can make an impact, it's a guy who scored 15 goals in La Liga last year just to keep Everton afloat. I think if anyone can do it, it's him. If anyone's going to get DCL back in the goals, it's going to be him. Yeah. So let's see if he can keep him up, and I'm going to be watching him.
I actually have a City player, Pat. I have Phil Foden as my guy to watch. Despite Phil Foden, I know this was a little segment last year of you saying he actually did have a really good season. I still find it funny that he's still not getting picked for the starting 11 and stuff. I think there's an opportunity for Foden to make his way back as one of the kind of foundational pieces of this Man City attack, especially with Mahrez leaving. There's obviously a hole in the midfield with Gundogan leaving. So I think there's more minutes up front. I just see Foden as a guy who's going to improve a lot on his goals and assists, his end production for Man City this year. So I'm excited to see kind of him come back because I think Foden's just a exceptional talent. So he's one, and then my other one is a midfielder for Liverpool, the Scouser Curtis Jones. I think people forgot last year, he ended that stretch of games in the run-in. I think he started 8-10 games in a row, had a bunch of goals, helped win England the U21 Euro in the summer, and I think he's going to come into this team really sharp this year. I think he's going to have a lot of minutes at the beginning of the season, and we'll see if he can make himself a mainstay in the starting 11, but he's definitely one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And for myself, I have a couple. I do have a midfielder for Villa. I do like Tielemans going over to Villa to shore up their midfield a lot. I like Szoboszlai. I did take one Liverpool player here. I just think the Bundesliga tax that Pat likes to talk about. Szoboszlai has looked so good in the preseason, in the midfield, looking fearless, I guess to say it best, looking like he's fitting in right at home, and I think he's going to have a great year, personally. And then on a not so loved side, Luton bringing in Tahith Chong from Birmingham, I think is a great move. For the cost, under $5 million for a championship player, had 13 goal contributions last year. I think he's a fun player to watch, and he's exciting and young and has a lot of hair. So
yeah, they're gonna stay up. It's gonna be him. All right, last one, and then we'll do the quick ending, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Gun to your head. Who's winning Player of the Year next year? Josh, go rapid fire round.
Haaland.
Mitchell, go.
Mohamed Salah.
Gun to my head. Kevin De Bruyne. All right, that was our main stand 2023-2024 season preview.
That was our season preview, folks. Like, share, subscribe to the podcast. We'll see you at the zoo this weekend.
And overall for the season. What the fuck? I froze.
Hey, Zoo this weekend. Like, share,
Freezed?
subscribe to the podcast. We'll see you next week. An in-person
Did I
episode
freeze?
with no
Am I
lag.
here?